Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at a crimes deck that I put together for 10.1. Now you guys mentioned that you wanted to see Syndicate, but I didn't feel like playing what you've probably seen every other game for the entire season. So I wanted to put together something a bit unique, and Line Pockets Crimes hasn't been played in a while on a very competitive level, but I think that with some of the reworks and some of the new cards, it actually sees some pretty good value right now, and it's going to be playing around a couple different archetypes here. So crime cards being one of them. We want to play a lot of specials in this deck. The second being the Intimidate status. Intimidate means whenever we play a crime card, the unit with the status boosts by the indicator of Intimidate. So if the card has Intimidate 3, for example, in this case, if it's between adjacent crown splitters, then we're going to be getting boost by 3 whenever we play a crime card. If it's 2, we're going to be getting 2, and then, you know, we have some 1s in there as well. So it helps engine that way. It plays very similar to Nilfgaard's Assimilate, but instead of creating units that are not from your starting faction, simply just by playing crimes. So pretty easy to pilot overall. The issue that we have at some certain times is that we don't have a lot of spenders in this deck, so you have to be very conscious as to when you take your profit cards and when you place your spenders, because if all of our spenders get answered, then we don't have the means of spending some of our coin that we've accrued. So it's very important, and you'll see today I play my spenders when I know that it's a safe time to play them, and this just comes from experience. So it's one of those things that you just really have to dial in on if you're going to play this deck, because otherwise you're going to say, hey Q, like, I have all these coins, I can't spend them. And it's a shame, because, you know, we have a lot of cards that profit, but we only have a few cards that spend, and that's just the way that it goes. So what we want to do is play as many of these crime cards and specials as possible to have a Gourd finisher. You've probably seen Gourd numerous times in scoia'tael, but it actually plays quite well in Syndicate as well if you create the deck to surround it. So we'll go through the deck list here. I didn't want to run a bunch of thinning pairs like the Casino Bouncers or the Sewer Raiders, so I opted to go for Oniromancy. This helps keep the deck low unit. It helps us get 2 cards from our deck whenever we need them. We have a lot of important crimes, and we have a lot of important units, so to have the flexibility of what we're pulling into really helps. And it's playing 2 specials because of the echo status for Gourd, so it really helps play into what we're doing a bit better. I didn't feel like Devotion was really necessary with a deck like this, so this is why we have Oniromancy. Now, Witchfinder is going to be one of the newer cards that I felt like would be a good addition to this deck. I don't believe it was in the old version when this was meta, because it was before Price of Power. Now, deploy, spawn 3 Syndicate Crowns. Those are just basically coins on the board that we can click to activate when we need them. At the end of your turn, if no enemy unit has a bounty, place a bounty on the highest enemy unit. So this is going to help us recycle coins and help us get a little bit more payoff for our removal cards like the Horse Freak Show and the Tunnel Drill. However, it's not going to put us in a spot where if they answer this, then we're in trouble. It's just a really good added bonus, great value for the provisions, and it has a good point potential if it's left unanswered. However, like I said, it's not the play, it's just a play. I like having the flexibility of the coin on the board, because oftentimes it is difficult to have a lot of coins like Jackpot, for example, because there are certain cards that we just don't want to play if we're keeping it low unit, and we only have so many specials that are giving us profit, right? We have the Swindles, we have the shakedowns, and we have the dips that are going to be our main profit source. It's not really coming from the units, so nice to have here. Cleaver is going to be one of the win conditions in my opinion. This card is very powerful, so realistically we want to play this when we already have a crown splitter on the board. It's not always possible, so if you play Cleaver first, you probably want to put one to the left of him as well, just so that we have the Intimidate increase on him. So on deploy, spawn, and play Shakedown. Shakedown's going to be this one here, so profit 3, boost an ally by 3. This will proc the Intimidate on the Cleaver right away, giving it that extra boost, so it goes to 5 power, because we'll use it on him as well. And then we just spend 4 coin to get a Cleaver Muscle on the row. What's nice is that if we have an empty bank, the fact that we get 1 coin per every crime card we play with lined pockets allows us to immediately be able to afford spawning a Cleaver's Muscle if we haven't, you know, had coin at all. So I would recommend putting out a couple, 1 or 2, just in case, on the first turn, because oftentimes they'll try and answer the Cleaver, and you want to get some payoff from them while you have the coin, because like I said, spenders are scarce in the deck. And of course we have lots of Crown Splitters to put to the left of them, like the Furco. We've got Sir Skewertooth, Tunnel Drill has the tag, you have Gord, but you probably wouldn't do that until the last turn, Quartz Blacksmith, and the Bare Knuckle Brawler. So pretty simple there in staging that to make it work. Heatwave feels important. If you were going to do a devotion version of the deck, by all means, you can go ahead here and you can put in a Horson Jr., but I think that Heatwave is just more appropriate in the meta right now, especially when we're playing a deck that isn't meta. We want to get the most value out of it possible, so to be able to remove a scenario or a tall unit from the game effortlessly just by playing this one card, it really makes it that much easier for us here. I think Nilfgaardian Justice is just a phenomenal card here. It's going to really help us set up our Crown Splitters for the Cleaver. So if we can get this down first, then it's really easy just to go and play Cleaver to the right of that. But we can also just use this as a win condition for 1 round, and this for a bleed or a push in a different round. So it's one of those things where I might split them up, but if I was able to somehow keep them all for round 3, then by all means I'm going to want to use them all in round 3. So that's what we have here. And our target cards for the Justice are going to be the Quartz Blacksmith if we need a spender, or the Bare Knuckle Brawlers if we have a lot of crimes and other spenders in hand. So you always want to make sure that you have at least 1 spender out there, 2 preferably, but it's not always possible. And make sure when you're playing Nilfgaardian Justice, you're playing it when you already have a Crown Splitter on the board, so that we get that ability to go and pull a Bronze Crown Splitter. So oftentimes you might take Furco into Nilfgaardian Justice to secure the Crown Splitter tag so that it's easy to pull. That's the most clean way to just roll it out. Sometimes you might want to put down the Bare Knuckle Brawler first if it's like an opening hand of the game, and this is just something you can float, and then you can try and go into the Nilfgaardian Justice. So there's plenty of different ways to go about it. Even if it's like Skewertooth first, then you go Justice second, it's fine. You want to make sure, if possible, you get down these Intimidate engines before you start playing crime cards. So that's why I prefer to go with the Bare Knuckle Brawler or the Skewertooth, depending on what round it is, before I dump into it, versus taking Furco into Justice, because we do lose the points there in that interaction. And moving on to the next one here. Sometimes we're left with lots of coins and not much to do with them. I think when decks have this, I don't want to call it like a flaw, because I think it's actually an opportunity, but when they have this situation, we'll say, it's good to have Philip on the deck, because if we have 9 coin, no spenders, we can take something up to 9 points, and that's huge, right? A lot of times if they're playing their hero card, they want to boost it up and keep it out of removal range. Well, sure enough, we can go and we can take that from them, so no problem. And we can take a defender, whatever the case may be, whatever is going to help us the most in that situation or deny the most points from them. So I really like it that way. And it's just nice to play Philippa before a whole run through of profit cards as well, because we can use what we have and then we can just go replenish and spend accordingly. So makes a lot of sense here. Walter is an interesting inclusion, and I don't regret it. I think it's great. With this card, you can create and play a Bronze Syndicate card. So we can do this numerous different ways. We can look for a Bronze Spender if we don't have one. We can look for a crime card if we have a lot of Intimidate out there, or we just need extra removal reach. So there's a lot of versatility with this, and just think of it as like a budget Lydia. Like, everyone loves to run Lydia with Nilfgaard. This is like my budget Lydia here, 8 provisions. It does what we need it to do, and there's certain decks that I wouldn't put him in, but with one that we kind of want to play more crime cards and we have a choice of 3 cards, it really is just nice and flexible. I like it. Talked about Furco for a crime tutor. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be justice, right? It could be any of the crimes that we need from our decks. So user discretion, whatever the situation calls for, you grab it. Skewer Tooth here, we can give it immunity if we tribute 2 coins. So there's a consideration if we're playing into control. If we're not playing into control, you might not take the tribute. So it really depends. Also, if it's a short round, then maybe you don't take tribute anyways, because it's going to get up to maybe 9 power. You'll play 2 crimes and maybe a 3-card round or something like that if you have this and you miss Gord or something. But in that case, well, you'd take tribute there. But you know what I mean? If there's like a spender involved, then maybe you just don't spend here because you want to allocate those extra 2 coins to getting rid of something or whatever. And Tunnel Drill is not what it used to be. However, it still can play very well. So before, you can just put it between Crown Splitters and damage by 3 for a fee of 2. Now there's a condition where you have to play a crime card the same turn to get that extra damage on the card. So with this one here, you have to float it for a turn more than often, and then you really kind of benefit from it the following turn. Now Tunnel Drill will probably be answered if it's going to be answered the turn that you play it. If not, then you're just in for a lot of points and you're really happy with that. However, if this card does get removed, then that just means a lot of other cards stay. So although it's not what it used to be, I still enjoy running it, and when they answer this, they often don't have the answer to the Cleaver or the Freak Show or the Coarse Blacksmith or the Gourd or whatever the case, so it has its place here. We have an alternative spender being the Freak Show. This is going to be obviously our second option if we have the Tunnel Drill on the board, but regardless, it's easy to play this card for just immediate removal. You don't have to worry about the condition of the crime cards, so having both of them really helps out here. And Gourd, if we do a quick count of the cards here, we have the minimum amount of units, right? So this indicates 12 cards in the deck are specials, and then Oneromancy would be another one, right? Because we have the Echo there, so that's like really good potential for Gourd. I think if we're being realistic here, Gourd's going to play for around 15 points, 12 points, or sorry, 14 points, give or take. More than often, yeah, like I would say around there. I'm just trying to think back to the games that I had today, but still good value for 7 provision, 14 points, right? It's like 2 for 1, and paydays are really good. We damage an enemy unit by 5, gain a coin back for each point of excess damage dealt. More than often, you'll just be trying to remove a 4 or 5 point engine. This plays really well into like the mages matchup for sure, and a lot of those decks that have just 4 power engines, not only are we getting the removal of the card, but we're also getting the extra coin from the condition of this card, and then the extra coin from the leader, which puts 2 coin available for Horson to go in and to hit something else. So it helps really make it more efficient cycling out the opponent's engines and just getting rid of a bunch of stuff. Coarse Blacksmith, of course, a backup here. I was thinking about putting in one of the Halfling Safecrackers at first, and I just realized that that's pushing it. We need to have something else to spend coins, so the Coarse Blacksmith is here in place of the Halfling, if you guys are wondering. And the Halfling used to have Intimidate status, it doesn't anymore, so it just became that less attractive, right? These used to be absolutely broken back in the day. If you think Jackpot's bad right now, just, yeah, it was a different time for sure. And going down the list here, we have Dip in the Pontar, really good card because we can damage by 3, profit by, you know, the extra, well, in this case 4 because they're a leader. So, you know, we're getting really good reach on something that's like 7 points for removal because we have the 4 coin to cycle back into something here, or even more so with the drill. So you can see how this card just gets a ton of value. This is kind of like a pseudo Philippa. I don't like running 2. I like running 1 because there might be times where we have more coin than we'd like to spend on something to remove it. And so profit 4, spend all coins, damage enemy by the same amount. So this will go and this will take our 4 coins and, you know, basically damage the enemy by the same amount, but we still get that 1 back from the leader after, which is not all bad. So I like the 1, I don't like the 2 because sometimes we overkill. And Shakedown, just a really good way of keeping our engines alive. They're going to want to try and remove some of these valuable engines that spend, right? Because we only have so few and they know this. I think there's 4 or 5 here that spend. So to keep them on the board floating is just really good with cards like Shakedown. And Swindle is probably one of the best crimes that you can have in a deck like this, because we have a way of guaranteeing the max value from this card every single time. So profit between 4 and 6. For every allied crown splitter, increase the minimum amount by 1. So we just gotta have 2 crown splitters out there and we're getting 6 coin, but technically 7 with the leader off of a 4 provision card. So I really like this, right? This feels like we're running a pickpocket for 4 provisions, right? And not only 1, we're running 2 of them. So really good to have here. I would have liked to maybe put in the Curt for the choice between Bounty and Purify. However, I felt like the provisions were better spent other places. If you were having a bad time with one of the cards, maybe in the upper end, like let's say you just weren't a fan of Walter, you didn't like rolling dice, then you can maybe go and put Curt in here and take out Peller. But I think it's just fine the way it is. I like it the way it is. And this is a good Purify, so if we're getting poisoned, if we're getting locked, if we want to get around their defender, just some examples for you there. Defenders normally have armor, and we don't really want to spend coin to remove them. If we don't have Philippa, then it gets a little bit difficult in that case. So this is why Peller's there for that reason. And Bare Knuckle Brawlers, of course, Intimidate, just feeding off of the crime cards here. And just having 2 of them, because we want to have ample targets for Nilfgaardian Justice. We don't want to break this under any circumstance, and we might find ourselves playing 1 or 2 of these cards in round 1. So it just makes sense to have 3 for more security, so we're not ruining our draws here. But overall, really fun deck to play. It feels ethical in the meta that we have right now, and it feels refreshing for anybody who wants to try and play a new faction, but they don't want to play the same thing that they play against every single other match. So that's pretty much it. As far as the stratagem, I haven't quite made up my mind. I don't mind tactical advantage because there are a lot of things that I want to keep floating, like our spenders. So this is why I have tactical here. The coin circulation's not as important, because if we have Tiger's Eye and we don't have a spender out, and then we have to play like one of our profit cards, then we over profit and it gets kind of awkward. So I felt like the coin circulation wasn't as important. Magic Lamp could be a consideration here, whatever the case. It's really one of those things that's up to you at this point, a preference. I like tactical when applicable just because the extra point, and I've been doing just fine with that. And as far as the results, we went 5-0 in the games today, and I'll show you guys for reference. So I played 5 games in Pro Rank, we won them all, and I'm not saying that this is the next meta breaker or the next biggest thing, but I'm just speaking from my own experiences. I really liked it. I felt like it was overall pretty smooth, and I felt like it was competitive with what we're facing against today. And notice that there are a couple Jackpot matchups, so that's what I'm talking about. It actually had tried and true matchups, all of which were pretty serious decks, and we did just fine. So if you want to try something different, by all means, give this one a try. The link will be in the description for you guys. And if you want to support the channel, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. About 70% of you guys who watch the content aren't subscribed to the channel, and we're trying to push 5K subs before the end of February. But for now, let's just get into the games. And for the first game, we have Shield Wall. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure if it was mages with shields, if it was witchers with shields, or if it was like classic shield wall. So we had to sort of be open to most things. I wanted to push a little bit, or have the means to push, so I wanted to maybe tuck the Peller back there. And I'm thinking if there's a defender, maybe we try and take it with Philippa. That's sort of the line of play. well, obviously right away we know it's probably going to be more of the mages. So that can kind of help me position how we're going to play the round. I opt for just an opener like the blacksmith right here because it's going to start dealing with some coin, right? Getting the profit of 2. It's also going to help set up our justice. It'd be nice to play something with intimidate, but I don't know if I want to just yet. Put down the drill here as well, have a backup crown splitter, have a good spender. We've got a nice amount of crimes that we can circulate, so being able to obviously use the drill here is going to be very effective. Start removing these engines.
So, shall we warm up with a fire spell?
It's a difficult board state, of course, right? Like, what are you going to do? I want to make sure that this student doesn't get too tall. It has a shield, it's going to be that much harder to remove, so we can go ahead and take it. And if we can get that warmed up, it should help us remove further engines that they play. So sure enough, we get a quick pass here. I don't know if I want to commit a whole lot, right? If we can bleed with justice or play it later, it's probably preferred. But there's also obviously the option of maybe just taking it for a thin. I think we take Furco or go into Oniro for a thin. I opt to take Furco here. No problem playing like a Swindle or something like that. Spend a few coins to get ahead. And we're not going to resurrect that, so we should just be fine here. We spend 4. And we got a bit of thinning done. We didn't really spend a whole lot. I think Philippa trades pretty well for a Dahlia. And I'm taking a look at the hand here. There are a lot of gold cards. Like, it's almost like a round 3 hand for gold cards. You know, there's only a few that we're missing here. I don't think we'd ever play, just making sure Oniro's charge 1. I don't think we'd ever play Gord in this round. We'd probably go for Cleaver if we're looking to bleed. And so for that reason, I want to put a Crown Splitter down, right? So we have the adjacent ones for the Intimidate status. It's kind of annoying. Obviously, it would be nice to play Skewer Tooth here, but I'm deciding, okay, if I'm actually going to push, I might have to save Skewer Tooth for like a short round 3, because we just don't have the space and the time. If they get more damage units on the board and have these charges and play stuff like that, you see what I mean? Then it gets a little bit more difficult. If I was going to think about it here, it would probably be like the last time before we just go for it without Skewer Tooth. And this card on the back is becoming too expensive. So I think it's actually worth taking the commitment here. Just because they went ahead and used leader on it as well, right? And so that kind of helps set us up a little bit here. We keep 2 Crown Splitters beside each other. So if Cleaver wants to come down in the middle, then we get the Intimidate right away. The Intimidate 3.
How'd that go?
There we go, and it puts us up to a decent amount of coin. I'm opting to go ahead and just take the damage route because we can finish that up next turn, and with the payday and stuff like that. And so far they haven't been able to establish these engines, even with the shields have been putting on them. We've been finding ways to get around it. Obviously it's inefficient spending, but it's kind of one of those things that you have to do. And I can't say I love taking a payday here. Walter might not be very beneficial. But we can try Walter. Walter's probably better than taking a payday off a shield. And sure enough, we pull the dip. Dip still plays for good points. Like, we rip the shield off, we get the 4 back, we get the Intimidate 3, and then we just kill it. So, Dip's much better than payday. And then we could just focus on paydaying maybe the back 4, right?
Traveling is an option, you see. One of the better ones.
And I want you guys to pay attention to Cleaver because huge wild card here. You see how he's already up to 13 points, really carrying. But if it gets heat waved or whatever the case, like, we don't have to worry too much because, you know, we have our points split up just enough. Payday 1, get the extra coins, and then we just take the other one out. This is where it gets pretty nasty. And they just had enough of that. I probably wouldn't have been able to play much more than that. I probably would have had to go for the pass and go for the round 3, which we'd be able to pull into Gord, which would have had a lot more value at that point. So that's kind of what we take. This one's going to be Syndicate, and it's going to be Jackpot. This one's going to be the Poison variant. So if you guys want to see a matchup against the Salamander, and I believe the other Syndicate matchup we have later is just the regular Jackpot. So we have one of each, which is really nice to see.
Use that, smell that.
Blabbing already, but I was just getting started.
Playing the Brawlers is a little bit ambitious, but when they stick, they work quite well, so. Having seen the payday, I think we're fine to play Tunnel Drill. I know when I'm putting a payday into a Jackpot deck, there's usually only room for one. So I want to maximize what we can do from this card here before it gets potentially removed. So we want to play a crime card this turn. I'm just trying to decide if I want to take the Cleaver first because we have the adjacent one, right? And if they don't remove it right away, then we can go and we can click that or play and get the more Intimidate, right? We get the 3 plus the added effect of the Drill. Bit rough here, but again, still good points, like still Intimidate 2, still effective spender. I don't mind at all. The spending, we're getting 5 points with a shield for 4 coins, so you don't really feel guilty about doing something like that. And the reason why I want to play this here is because I really value trying to push them. Once I start seeing things like the Hounds and the Poison, I know it's probably going to be Salamander, and you want to push that matchup because if you can bleed out the pieces in round 2, then they don't really have those same win conditions in round 3 as maybe the traditional Jackpot that's going around. So in this event here, 7 coin is perfect for the Bloody Good, because they can engine that quite well. We'll go up to 7, remove all our coin, take it out, and then get the 1 coin back, plus proc the Intimidate. So it's actually a really big swing. We did 7 removal, 2 boost, and then 1 coin. So it's like, technically like 10 points, I guess, for 4 provisions. And start seeing things like Siggy here. I'm pretty happy with this. We want to split up the points a little bit because Cleaver's getting kind of tall. But you see what I mean though? They poison out the drill, so then Cleaver does this phenomenal work. Cleaver's generated like 37 points for us right now. Well, minus 3 from the boost we used from a card in hand, but you know what I mean.
The pike's king of the pontar. The pike, damn
Seeing
it.
Caesar come down. They're starting to get a little bit desperate for something here, which is really nice to see. That's their only spender, so it would be nice to try and remove it. And I do value staying ahead at this point. I think if we're going to commit Cleaver to a round, I want to win the round. Unless it's like a really good bleed and we get lots of good things out of it. Now they're just really suffering for something to play. I think Walter comes down here no problem. And, well, might as well play the Crime for Gourd. And so they're going to have to put down a spender and spend everything in order to get ahead here. I was thinking that they'd probably take leader, but they didn't.
I've no mercy for your
And if I'm looking back at that play, I honestly should have taken their boat. So take the Flying Redanian on the pass like that. It would have been enough, but it would have been preventing the carryover. I was just so focused on finishing the round that I forgot to click it, and it's a whoops moment for sure.
The simplest methods yield the best results.
So I'm just trying to bleed out, you know, what we need to get. And at this point I realized that I should have taken the boat, and I was a little bit salty about it. But I'm thinking that if we just crank it here, it might not matter. They might just spend all their coin or not be able to circulate the coin so that, you know, they don't even see boat in this round. So take this in, right? They're at 10 points.
No one can stop the salamandra. No one.
And now they're at 41 points. That's basically one of the problems right now. So this hand's good. Peller's not really great. It would be nice to have another spender. We do have access to one. I don't think Skewer is going to get the best play here. I think we're better off maybe just going for the Horson. Oh, we can't play that on empty board state. I think we gotta go take the bounty here. Notice how when putting down the Witchfinder before I put down the spender, I was talking about how important it is to protect our spenders and make sure that they don't get answered. And since they're focusing all their efforts on poisoning that right now, I'm thinking they're just going to take Salamander for the 1, because they have no coin. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, we didn't end up getting punished for not dealing with the boat, right? I opt to go and remove it here, because if they like, she doesn't put the bounty, but if they remove the freak show, then that's even more coins I can't spend. So that was kind of the rationale behind that, and I knew that, okay, we just win at this point, right? Here, take care of that. Whatever they play here, we answer, and this one's for you guys if you've been bullied by Syndicate for the content. I GG'd. They GG'd. It's all love. Now, see, Gord played for 13, not bad. Moving on to the next one, here we have Kelly. And so the strategy would be either, well, preferably take their defender, and then heatwave the Kelly, and we should win the game. So I see Philippa, I'm happy about it, but we don't have the answer to the second part. But if I can take the defender in round 1, then I can heatwave the Kelly on revival or something like that. So it's not all bad. The only bad part really is that we go first.
The simplest methods lead the best results.
So we have to try and get that defender out of the way, and then try and get out of the round before Kelly comes down and basically makes it so that we can't. And so, and you play enough games, you start to predict these things a bit better, right? I see the matchup, I start to be like, alright, this is probably how it's going to be. I would recommend doing that every game you play. You can't really assume like 100% on ladder, but just have an idea of how you'd like to approach the round based off of what you think it might be. And I'm doing my very best to not let them think Philippa's on the way.
Call this one the Tickler. This time it'll be personal.
Because if I could have taken it right there, but I felt like I wanted to set up a little bit more first. And it pays off because they're thinking, okay, well, they've got 5 coins in bank, they have reach with leader, they obviously aren't running Philippa. And then that's when I come in and take Philippa. Yeah, so here we go. And we have Philippa to burn, which is really nice with the Kelly. And I'm gonna try and pass here. And so now all we have to do is draw into either Oniromancy or Heatwave, and by taking Justice in round 1, we're going to help ensure that we get what we need here. And they get 5, 6 points off this turn, so they have to play a card. And it worked out perfectly, because their Nithral hits the defender too, which is really not going to help. So there we go. And the nice part about it too is if they use Sabbath, then they have to, well, they'll be taking back our defender as well. And we actually don't mind at all, because we have a couple spenders that we want to keep alive. Cards like Cleaver can go tall. We don't have to worry about the Purify anymore. And this is what I like about not playing too heavy into Bounty, or too heavy into Poison, is that we don't have to worry about if the opponent plays a lot of Veil, and if they have a lot of Purify, all that type of stuff. We can just play damage, like classic control style play. So they're at 7 and we're at 9. I have room to remove that, and then yeah, it's probably worth just removing that, because then we can just dump like a blacksmith or something if they pass. And yeah, I was expecting that. I don't mind Blacksmith on a pass if we've already played Justice. It feels pretty smooth because it's basically for that reason. Backup spender and for Justice. So now all the Bronze Crown Splitter plays are cycled out. We can just focus on playing non-interactive and using Cleaver to generate our points, Gord Finisher, and I just need to find Gord or Oneiromancy now. And we get neither, right? And no drill. Normally, I would expect it to be a little bit more consistent than this. Don't get discouraged if you guys find yourself in a situation like this either. I think that this deck's often underestimated. I take the Tribute here because I know that they're going to have probably direct target. A lot of these decks are running Heatwave, a lot of them are running Imler's Wrath or Spores or whatever the case, and I just want to protect Skewertooth from that. I'm just trying to figure out what our tallest units are. So we're going to get the Course Blacksmith back, the Defender back, and is it Cleaver? I think we take a dip. We don't use a Payday there because it goes away anyways. So Payday is like an overcommitment for points. So now we're just trading here. I don't love the idea of having to remove the beast right there because they can potentially bring it back, but it's either going to be the Kelly, the Nithral, and either the Empyrean Phantom or the beast. So it didn't really matter either way. They're getting an engine. And I just want to get this out here so we have more coin available. It eats the heat wave. Which is not all bad. I think we do value taking the extra spend here just because I want points. It's one of our main point generators and our only spender left. Well, now we have two. You see what I mean, right? So they'll start burning through our... Okay, so it goes. We take that heat wave on the Kelly. They can't resist the leader charge on it too. It makes the heat wave even better. Now we got to start working on some of the other stuff here. It'd be nice if I had more control options available, like Tunnel Drill would have been really helpful here. But only so much we can do. I want to take a dip off the Nithral and then just do our best to keep Sabbath at bay. We were never going to finish the bounty anyways. In that case, it was just too tall. If we had drill for sure, that would have been nice.
Ah, I knew it. I always knew it.
I take down that ceiling so that it doesn't get higher. I think, well, it doesn't make a difference because I go and hit the pig next turn, I'm pretty sure. But you want to make sure that the pig doesn't keep climbing so that the beast doesn't climb more. But with the Intimidate on our side of the playing field, it doesn't really matter anyways. The Skewertooth is up to 17 points, and that's more the reason why I wanted to protect it, because it actually gets out of hand. And we just go and take that game here. Moving on to the next one here, we got Nilfgaard, Double Cross, and this could be bad, but we don't have like a lot of good cards for them to make copies of. If it's Assimilate, they have the Intimidate Bronze Brawlers, right? Which aren't really going to do much for them. They're not playing Crown cards. And they have like maybe the cleaver muscle, which is probably their most effective option. Coarse blacksmith as well. Again, not really crazy cards.
I shall not repeat Emir's mistakes.
They take Caveat, they boost it.
That hurts. Good.
I was starting to worry.
I can't really give it bounty, right? Because it has veil, which is probably what they were trying to avoid. Bounty or poison. Just because it was tall base power. But if it means we win the round, I might even take Heatwave on that. And normally when the opponent goes first, and they play Caveat, I know that they're struggling for proactivity. So taking a Heatwave here would be a good time, because they might not have something else they can play that's comfortable, right? We might have to go Furco into a crime in this round so that we can play our justice, because Furco often doesn't see removal from the opponent. They just see it on the board as 2 points.
Hail, Qcento.
And I'd really like to cycle that out.
Thanks so damn much. Anyone teaching to share?
So we can take the payday from hand in this case, make it a little bit more difficult for them, because they're starting to roll Diplos with no assimilate units out there, so it's going to provoke like a Brathin spend or something like that, because they're going to have to start putting points on the board if they want to win the round. So we see the roll into bribery. That's good. It's good to see that already.
For thy foul deeds thou shalt burn.
At this point, I decided I wanted to try and control the round a bit harder. I think that this card has some good synergy for us, and I know that they're struggling for things to play. Right, rolling Diplos and briberies with nothing on the board tells me, alright, how are you going to go in response to that? And I guess they were just really just trying to save the points for the Blightmaker. I didn't think that they had this package available. It might have affected me spending something, but it doesn't really change a whole lot here. I just want to try and stay ahead of them, and I'm just trying to decide what we take with Furco, what's most important.
Belly or throat? Got a preference?
Dip's kind of nice. We start focusing on that carryover a little bit. It still keeps us ahead. What sucks about this play, though, is that we don't get to really benefit from these bounty kills.
Tis merely an illusion, though Gwent was strong and skillfully imposed.
Like, a dip won't do anything because their tallest unit's not. I take Blacksmith here, and it was a little bit ambitious because if they make a copy of it, now they have 5 coins, but at the same time we need to be able to spend the coins that we have, so we can't just not do what we need to do because of what they have going on, you know what I mean? And obviously here comes some coin for them, here comes some spending, but it's not really a huge difference here. I don't want to boost up something that they might want to Yennefer's Invocation all too high, so we'll just heal it basically. Trying to decide if I want to dip that or the back card. It makes sense to me to push towards removing the bounty because we can't actually remove either of them.
Her grace will not be
I think they should have taken the blacksmith. It would have been 1 more point. So the coup's gone. I can start boosting Duchess. Is fine. Swindle here. And we stay ahead. I don't really think we could push it any further. And it's unfortunate, but I would be almost willing to spend the Witchfinder if it meant winning the round. Like, just spend that, take the crowns, or the... yeah, and just move on. His Gord's already 10 points. Joachim's going to go into Terra Nova, and we knew this because they played Calviet. So I'm feeling really good about that. That's the problem with playing him early, right? Is that you might run into problems like this. So to me, it feels like a good trade. You know, they play that for nothing. I don't mind playing R12P just to get us ahead. And I want to create a bit of a gap to actually get them to pass here, because I want to win the round. So this is why we're spending more than we need to. I'm thinking, okay, they're probably not going to do 9 points off 1 card. Because if it's Yen, they can't take anything that's going to win them the round. Just to be safe, they would have had the leader as well, and then we'd probably have to pass, because I think Gord's too valuable. But this is nice. Now we have room to push if we need to. We've got all the tools. I just don't know if we want Skewer Tooth. It's a short round. But it's not even that bad. Don't remember if I took the tribute here. I guess you could, because that's something that they could remove here. And we are potentially playing 2 more crimes, which would get it up pretty tall. We wouldn't be playing Gord this round, I don't think, because it takes away from what we're trying to do. We want that last, say, Gord finisher, but we want to make it the most value possible. So, Cleaver coming down, maybe Oniro into something, and then call it at that point. What's kind of nice, though, is when we're playing against Nilfgaard and they've taken the Calviet, Neuromancy off leader doesn't really matter that much because they would have probably gotten all these cards anyways.
You will not regret this, good sir.
Is she a fine vintage blade of mate?
And I'm just looking at it, okay, if they go play a gold here, at least they're not playing that in round 3, right? These are more things that we're getting from them. See, now Brathens comes down, so we're starting to do the count here. Lydia's out of the way, Brathens, Vigo, Terra Nova, Joachim, right? A lot of big commitments here. We still have some good plays left. I'm pretty confident with them. The last say is really important for us here. I'm deciding to go and take just this, maybe roll another crime card or something. We don't get lucky here. So I'm thinking, okay, we take this. It's not as much points, but it's more carryover, because we'll get the 2 coins coming into round 3. I don't think we have like a really good pushing hand here. I think that if we dump Cleaver and spend, it might be like a self-bleed at this point.
I need not spill blood to make you suffer like never before.
Seeing Drill might provoke it getting removed. Yeah, it's not bad. Brawler's like not great, just for the length of the round, really. Like, it is optimal for the Cleaver, but so is Drill. We can just put Drill down.
the truth.
And this is what I'm talking about. I play so much lower no unit decks that I just love watching their cards with deploy abilities come down and do nothing. It's got to be the most toxic part about my gameplay, is that sometimes I really enjoy this style. And Yen coming down on that is fine, because we have another very efficient spender, being Cleaver. And with Cleaver left untreated, we should just be fine, because we had 2 cards that generate profit, and we have a spender for those. So if they answer this, we're in trouble. If they don't, then we're just doing alright. And obviously, Heatwave and Yen. I've seen that. I wasn't expecting it, though. If I was expecting both, I probably would have keepin the Brawler. Just so that we had a unit to play. Because the coins we just generated, that's basically like a 1-point turn, because it feeds the Gord, but that's it. So it puts them at a bit of an advantage at this point, right? And the fact that they have our Nero, they can pull into whatever they want. They're probably running out of good cards, though. Last card's Coup, right? So it'd be the Assimilate proc plus. And that should just be fine. Yeah. But you see what I mean? With the 9 coins, like, this is the position you could find yourself in sometimes. So that's kind of the part where it's vulnerable. And for the last game here, we have Syndicate Jackpot. This is going to be like the meta list that you guys see. And sorry, but the initial, like, starting of the game, forgot to click record on time, but we got it at the very beginning of the game still, when we're taking our mulligans. So we'll go into it here, and this is like the real test.
That hurts. Good. We're starting to worry.
We'll try and optimize our plays, really get the best sequencing possible, get down these Intimidate engines as early as possible. And we'll use that there. It's effective. It's, you know, one of those things where it's 4 for 4. We don't have to worry too much about profiting and then wasting. I would love to go Furco into Payday, but I think we have to go Furco into Justice. And I have a lot of crimes and access to crimes. So I value taking the Brawler here, and we can work on using the Blacksmith later. Yeah, no respect for the Heatwave. We're going to wait till that gets a little bit taller, and then we can maybe look at taking a Heatwave. I like the fact that they're trying to sink all their coins into one source, because they probably just think we can't deal with it, right? In this event, it might not be the most points right now, but it's an investment. We're taking the Crime because I'm looking to boost the Gord, right? We also have the Intimidate tags. There's 2 of them, so I don't mind that play at all. There we go, 18 points. We're getting to that point where they can pass on us here off the back of the Jackal. So this is probably where we'd want to take the Heatwave. And it doesn't feel like the best Heatwave we can get, but it feels like probably the smartest, because, there you go, it keeps us comfortably ahead, about a turn ahead. We have full bank, they have empty bank, which is like the really important thing, because now we have the flexibility to play a spender and just win. And we got the pass on it here, so now we can get to work at bleeding out some of those key components so that it doesn't matter as much what they have in round 3. We haven't seen a whole lot anyways from them. So my idea is to cram it. I want to have like a lot of tempo going on and see if we can get like a card advantage, because I think card advantage would be very valuable for us coming into the next round. And what's nice is that we can immediately afford the 2 cleavers. So if you come into round 2, like coming off a full bank or 8 coins in round 1, like it really doesn't matter, it goes down to 4 regardless, then we can go and we can spend twice when we play Cleaver. So puts us up to 15 points off the get-go right away, and they have to start circling out these bounties, which is a little bit slower for them. We just go up to 4, spawn another one. You see what I'm talking about here? It's really good points. Now we're starting to create that gap, and we're doing it with inexpensive cards. And automatically we get the heat wave here. It's good to see, it's a good trade. The thing about the Cleaver that I really like is when they heat wave it, a lot of the damage has already been done. You can't get back those, you know, inexpensive Cleavers we spawned. So I'm looking at their hand, empty bank. They don't boat access. Boat's not even enough to get them ahead without leader. And so they're going to have to spend another card. And now we're going to go into round 3 with a 2-card advantage. Just wild, right? And this leads into one of the examples, like one of the reasons why I'm kind of upset with this meta right now is because they have to go and play all this. And then it's still going to be a close game, which is the crazy part, right? This, like, we should be awarded for pushing this hard. Not, like, scraping by, is what I'm saying. Because it was a well-played bleed. It was, like, exactly what we needed to do. And we're pulling pretty much everything we need. It'd be nice to have maybe drill. But drill often will get answered. So we'll see if it lasts. Like, we have access to drill, and then we have O'Neill for the pig, I guess. So we're pretty much pulling all of our golds in this match too.
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
I just didn't know how to go about it first. I was just contemplating what to play, but we have to kind of respect a little bit of this here. I want to remove the Jackal because that's like a really efficient spender for them. And if we can just get rid of all of them, we're good to go. Drill would be nice for us to get out here. I just don't know how we're going to do it. So we should probably respond. Bounty for bounty, right?
Inconceivably grotesque.
Eye for an eye. We'll start working on that just in case they take away our spender. We can just go and payday that and get the coins right back, which really helps. Yeah, you see?
Welcomes all are free to convert.
And I'm dreading this a little bit because I really want to get drill down. And we still can't get drilled down because I have to take that now. You see what I mean? It's very difficult matchup. We'll go ahead and kill that, board wipe, get the coin back, and then I think now we can finally play drill.
Salamander has no fear of fire.
So I'm trying to decide if I want to go and take Skewer Tooth next because I know Cobb's coming. And I know that if we win the game, it could be on the back of taking the Skewer Tooth because the Intimidate, right? Makes a big difference there.
Mere trifle and abuse bush.
The only thing that I'm worried about is if they remove the 5, we have all these coins we can't do anything with, but I think we have to risk it, because at this point, it's safe to say last card is what we think it is. And I'm not going to take tribute for that reason. And I messed up on one of my spends here on the next turn. It was like 1 point I missed because I thought I read 3, but it was actually 2 power, and I hit it with the drill. But the 1 point didn't make a difference. And look at this, though. 48 points. They come from having like nothing on the board to almost 50 points in 1 turn. So this is what I'm talking about here. Now we can go play our crimes and work on this here. And this is the turn that I'm referring to, where it was 3, but Gourd was actually enough, and it wouldn't have made a difference. We won by enough points without that 1 point. If I lost, it would be a different story. We'll see you tomorrow with another video. Thanks for sticking around.